I love that we all come together to support one another, to help really drive and boost the industry that we are in. Hi, good morning everybody, and thank you for joining this webinar today. Just a couple of house rules for those of you who have not been in one of these webinars before. There will be the opportunity to ask questions at the end of the session, so please pop your questions into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. We are streaming live on Facebook, so welcome everyone who's watching from there. And again, if you've got any questions, please pop them in the comment box and I'll be happy to ask them at the end of the session. So, Nawal Jarges is here. Hi, thank you for joining.
Hi, good morning, Emma. How are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Fabulous.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So Nawal's going to be talking on a very key subject, managing your financial uncertainties as a result of COVID-19. So yes, if you have any questions whatsoever, please pop them in the box throughout the session and I'd be happy to ask them. So over to you. I will put myself off screen and the webinar is all yours.
Thank you. Thanks again, Emma, for having me. Good morning, everyone. I really appreciate everyone joining in. This is a very sensitive topic. A lot of people have actually contacted me and they said, help me with my business. We are struggling. We don't know how to make ends meet. I understand that as a result of COVID-19, this pandemic has actually affected everyone's business, especially our industry. It is relatively important that we take a look at what we can do to actually minimize any expenses and to reduce as much overhead as possible. We understand it's not easy, so I'm going to take you through a couple steps and it will also help you personally and in your professional career and also business owners. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and put up a presentation for you and if you can just follow me. We lost the connection. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see this. Sorry, because I'm losing a little bit of a connection from the Zoom. So I'm going to go ahead and take you guys through this. Again, we're talking about managing the financial uncertainties of as a result of COVID-19. So again, if we take a look at our P&L statement, okay, as I mentioned earlier that we have to take a look at our expenses. We need to really reevaluate our expenses. Okay, if we look at our P&L itself, our P&L will actually identify all the fixed costs and any variable costs that you have. And when we're talking about fixed, the fixed could actually be your rent, it could be your other mandatory expenses that you have that you just cannot change it. And then when we talk about your variable expenses, we can talk about your cost of goods. You've got your other expenses such as your marketing, etc., that would fall under that category. When you go through your P&L, identify what do you feel is a necessity in order to run your business. Not everything would be considered a necessity. Let's say if we take a look at our P&L statement back a year ago and maybe your financial state, your cash flow was much better, in a much better place than it is today. So you actually extended out a little bit more costs that you could have had, more luxuries to your business. It could have been a massive campaign that you were running that could have cost you double the amount of your expenses shared on through social media platforms. Perhaps that you added more luxuries into your salon in general. And then now you're at the point where we're facing a lot of uncertainties with market and with extra expenses that have had a damper on your cash flow. And because we don't have the sales that are coming through, that we're unable to afford those luxuries. So again, look at your expenses, determine what you feel is a necessity, and eliminate those that you feel that you can do without. Okay. When you look at your P&L, also factor in your personal expenses. Okay, a lot of us are business owners or are actually drawing a payroll on our own business. Your personal expenses are also going to play a factor to this. So let's say that you were making X amount of money, and you were living off of that budget. You knew that you could afford luxury car, you could afford, shopping on a regular basis, but again, you were relying on the income that you were generating from your business or even from your job. And as we all know, that the business has actually reduced, and of course it's going to have an issue, and it's going to actually have an impact on your own personal expenses. When we're talking about reducing expenses, we want to also take a look at our rent. Let's say that we're going to talk about business itself, you're in a mall. I know that there has been a lot of initiatives that have happened through the government of UAE where there has been rent relief, there has been a reduction in rental as well. But also there's still some room for negotiation. Don't be afraid to approach your landlord. They all know the situation that we're all going through because, again, this has impacted everyone. Give them some options. Don't wait for them to tell you that, we'll reduce your rent or we'll give you some rent relief for X amount of months. You should come to the table with a plan. Even if you're asking for a complete waiver and you can pick it up at the end of the lease, that's fine, but give them the options on that. You would take a look at your staffing as well. I'm sorry, I know this is going to touch a little bit for those technical staff, but again, let's remember that we're all in this together, and if I do my part and you do your part, then we can quickly recover, okay, instead of dragging it on and then ending up facing major issues where we can't keep our business afloat. So when we're talking about staff, it's critically important that we look at our productive staff. We look at what we can do as a whole in order to ensure that our clients are covered, our manning is covered in the branches. I know in UAE that we're restricted to only doing hair services and nail services, but then we have staff that are only skilled in massages or facials or waxing, and unfortunately, they're lying dormant. They're not bringing in any revenue. It's extra costs that are happening all across. The salons are really in a rut because they don't want to lay their staff off, which is great. It's amazing. But what can we do in order to put these staff in a productive position? My suggestion is that it's never too late. First of all, you should try to train your staff, multitask them, regardless, even if they could assist at the front desk, that's okay, let them do that. Give them an extra skill, like maybe they could remove polish for the clients, but try to utilize them as much as possible. We don't know when the lift is going to take place where these staff are going to be able to perform services. So that's still pending with municipality. Hopefully, we will return back to normal relatively soon. When we look at our staff as well, it's very important that we take take into consideration what is productive in terms of our business. You've got staff utilization percentage based on the skills. So if I tell you that you're an MP and you're utilized X amount of time during the day, this is what we expect from that position. Then we have what's called revenue-based productivity. So we need to factor in two components in order to determine what ratio would that staff be at that particular branch. So right now we know that, again, everybody has reduced down. The client flow has reduced. The number of services have also reduced in the location. But as a result, we still should be at least, at this point, we need to be at least about 40% productive any way that we look at it. If your staff, and this is something, there's a whole exercise involved in terms of how to determine your productivity levels. And that's something that I can help you with. But if your staff are way below 40%, and when I'm saying way below, I'm talking 30, 20%, then technically you're overstaffed in that location at this present time. We need to find a better way in order to utilize the staff. Some locations actually have multiple, some brands actually have multiple locations. They can shift around their staff. But the ideal is to have that amount of productivity in order to keep you afloat during this time. Okay. I'm going to go into the return on investment as well. This is something that it's a topic, a point rather, that needs to be reviewed continuously. I would recommend everyone reviewing that at least every 6 months. When you look at your business itself, look at the past year, most importantly right now for the crisis that we're facing, is look at your business for the past year. I'm sure that everyone has a P&L that they can work with, and make sure that it's broken down into sections. What are you generating for your Moroccan bath, your facials, your waxing, and determine how much revenue is being generated from those services. And when I'm talking about those services itself, I'm not just talking about as a whole. You do need to look at it as a whole, but also break it down. There could be several different services falling under one category. Eliminate those services that are not bringing in enough revenue, okay? And as a business owner or a manager, you may say to yourself, okay, but I have Mrs. Jones that actually brings in 10,000 dirhams, for example, every year, because she likes that particular facial. But if you look at the cost of doing business in terms of that small revenue that she's generating, it is just not worth carrying the inventory. It's not going to be feasible for you to continue offering those services. Another factor that is important to look at as well is, what have you actually benefited from other additions that you've had? Let's say your expansions. Let's say that you have 10 locations and one location has been operating in the red for the past year or 2 years. This is the time where you really need to make a financial decision based on your business model. Should you eliminate that branch? Should you close down? Should you temporarily close down? Should you liquidate? That's very critical for you at this time, because you're just going to continue sinking in, and you want to be able to stop the bleeding right now, not just put a Band-Aid on it. Your pricing. I've noticed actually in the past probably about 2 weeks, there has been a lot of controversy in terms of pricing. I've seen a lot of online offers because we are not able to offer any promos for, say, inside the salon or advertising them. However, there's a lot of salons that are doing it. But we need to understand how discounting works. First of all, you you have services. We all know that services are what brings in the majority of our revenue, and then it's followed by the retail. When we discount our services, there's two things that are happening. You're actually, first and foremost, you're tapping into the money that you need right now. Right now, the expenses has gone up. We've got masks that we have to use. Every client that walks through the door has to have a mask on. Sometimes they're going through 2 and 3 masks as they're sitting, getting their hair colored. Your staff are going through masks. Now we've got the big shields on their on the majority of their face, and that all costs money. There's extra measures that are being taken to disinfect the salons, which we all know that we've disinfected our salons very well. I think this is one country that really follows it to the T. But now we're spending much more money on that, and we're not passing that on to our services. So what is happening? It's reducing your profit margin. Our profit has already decreased quite a bit. Okay, I know locations that are down anywhere between 50 to 70%. So when you tap into reducing our pricing or offering services just so you can increase your cash flow, you're not benefiting from it at all. You're actually tapping into, again, you're reducing your cash flow yourself. It's costing more money to operate. You will be operating at a loss, and it's degrading for our industry. Remember that clients look up to us because we are the professionals. They don't necessarily expect a discount from you. Some clients do. Of course, you're going to have different types of clientele. You've got the client that always looks for that Groupon offer, always looks for your promos. But most of the time, if you've built a loyal following, your clients have been loyal to you forever, then when you opened up those doors, they should have booked their appointments with you. They still should be booking their appointments, and they don't expect anything less. They will appreciate if you put some added value in, without discounting it at all. Perhaps, let's say that they're coming in, they're getting their full hair color done, and they've got other services added on, let's say a keratin treatment. They would love to have another treatment during their next visit, and instead of you discounting it, you know, your color is at 300 and all of a sudden now you're offering it at 150. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. Your inventory is another factor that we have to take a look at. We've got a lot of inventory right now. A lot of it is standing still. You probably are sitting on hundreds of thousands of dirhams, if not millions, and it's not going anywhere. Unfortunately, it may not go anywhere for a while. So it's important that you get with your team, you sit down and you determine what is your aging stock. Hypothetically, you don't want to keep anything past 6 months from the date of purchase. And if you do have items that are much older than that, then you want to come up with some sort of strategic offerings that you can push them out. If you have other locations, let's say if you're branded with another company, or if you have a sister company, you want to try to share some of those stock with them. Bundle your retail. That's a very good idea. And at that point, you can offer discounts. If I go back to the added value, let's say that you put in a really good offer for your client to include some retail products. So again, that's some added value. That's going to help eliminate some of your inventory. And working with your suppliers on that will definitely be beneficial to you. Your suppliers are here to assist you. I know that L'Oreal and Schwarzkopf, especially the Schwarzkopf team here, and other big players, Glomar and Idel and many, many, many more, are here to assist you. If you need help with coming up with some ideas, or even anything that they can do from their side, just please reach out to them. Please make sure that you pay your suppliers as well. If you can't, because again, we're in a financial crisis right now, the best thing to do is to come up with a plan, work with them, give them a realistic expectation, and please stick to it. Remember that they're here, they're on our side, they're here to support you. They've supported you before the pandemic started, and they're going to continue to do that. So if you cannot make your payments, please come up with an agreement, stick to that agreement. And if you can't stick to it, please make sure that you reach out to them. Don't avoid your suppliers. They're here to help you. And then when this is all over, they're going to remember how well you took care of them during this time and how you kept your promise. So please remember that. It's very important. Right now, one of the best things that you could do besides looking at your P&Ls is to create a short-term budget. You've got your personal budget, again, that you need to factor in. And those of you that are business owners, I recommend that you look at your personal budget after your business budget. Create the short-term plans for 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months. Please remember that we're about to enter into the third quarter. Third quarter is typically a much slower time of the year, and you take the pandemic into consideration, expect it to be much slower this year. So please put your plans together, make sure that they're realistic, and create your business plan for 2021. When I'm saying your business plan, not just your budget, look at your budgets, because I believe a lot of us have already prepared our budgets for 2021. Sometimes we've incorporated them into our business plan itself. You have to revisit that. It could take some time. It could take maybe a year or so for our business to get back to what we were used to prior to COVID-19. So please look at that. Your business plan should include any downfalls that could occur. Be realistic with it. Let your finance manager help you with that, and be realistic, please. All else fails, you want to seek financial support. A lot of institutions right now have waived fees in terms of the credit card processing fees, in terms of their interest rates. I'm not a fan of credit card fees. I'm not a fan of debt, but let's be honest, we all have debt. It is so important that you pay your credit card fees off as much as possible. Those fees of 20% will kill you. You'll never be able to breathe. Try to eliminate debt as much as possible. If you have the cash flow right now, when you free yourself from those interest rate hoggers, then you will definitely be able to breathe much, much easier. There are a lot of grants out there. I'm going to talk about a little bit about what's happening in North America, because I do know that there's a lot of North American people that are listening today, and I really thank you for that. There are SBA loans out there. There are many groups, there's many grants that are given to the salon owners and also to technicians themselves, to hairdressers. And when I'm saying grants, is you don't need to pay them back. The Small Business Administration is there to support you. Please reach out to them. Those of you that have offshore companies that are here based in the UAE or elsewhere, please remember that you are eligible for those grants as well. Here in UAE itself, there are some other options. There's loans that are available for small businesses. Please be realistic on that. Don't try to keep yourself afloat if you were already sinking prior to COVID-19. It's going to take you a long time to get back to where you were. So again, let me rephrase that. If you were in the red prior to COVID-19 and you want to seek financial support to get you out of the red, that may not happen. So please don't sink yourself into a deeper hole. Reevaluate your business. Look at it in a realistic point of view. Let someone else help you with it. Let a financial advisor, let your accountant take a look at that and determine where you see yourself in the next 3, 6, 7 months, and then in 2020. My next slide is actually going to show you a little bit about some of the terminology that I've used throughout my presentation here, and just give you a little bit of insights on it. Of course, I can't go into full detail with everything because it's based on an individual business, on where your cost of goods are, where your staffing is, and your entire overhead, and if you are profiting. But these are some tips that you can do by yourself and to really put some perspective into your own business and your own professional finances. So I'm going to go to the next slide and you can just take a look at that. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Okay. So again, you can take a look at some of the words that I said that I was speaking about earlier. Your return on your investment, your liabilities, the equity, etc. That is all noted here. And if you have any other questions, feel free to please reach out on my email, or you can ask them here and Emma will be happy to forward them over to me and we can discuss it. Thank you very much. Emma, please tell me if there's any questions that I can answer.
There are. Just one moment. I'm going to just stop your screen so that we're both here. Great. Yeah. So we've had a question on Facebook from Galina. I think she might have just joined us as you were talking about. You mentioned overstaffed with 20% and above. What was the number?
20%, I think what she could have been referring to, I'm talking about the productivity itself. In terms of the productivity, we've got two different productivities. You've got your time utilization, which is based on the time that they have been used inside the branch to perform services. Then you have based on revenue, because all staff should have a target, and if they don't, then a target needs to be established right away. So what I mentioned in terms of 20%, if they're only being utilized 20% in the location, then you are definitely overstaffed during this time. In general, you'd be well overstaffed, but because of the situation in the market, in our salons, anything 20% and lower is totally unacceptable. I hope I answered that.
Yes. If not, Galina, let us know.
Please let me know. She has my contact number, so I'm sure that she can reach out to me.
I will put Nawal's email address and LinkedIn profile into the chat shortly. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out directly, because I'm sure there's lots of personal, everyone's cases are all different. We have some more questions. What is the benchmark for cost of goods?
It depends on the model. Let's say typically you don't want to go past 9%. If you're in a spa, you can get away with a little bit, anywhere between 8 to 10%. Full service salon, you want to stay under 8%. If it's a nail salon, don't go past 5%. And if you're higher than that, there's two things that are happening. One is that your prices are probably too low. And usually that's what it is. Second is that you're consuming too much product. Those are the only two reasons. Or you're paying for too much products too.
Or you're paying for too much.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Emma.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Fab. Okay, another question. Are we giving staff and technicians a new target since the business is down?
I would definitely do that. We have to take that into consideration. One reason why you want to do that is, first of all, targets should be based on the actual time that you expect them in the location. So let's say if the staff is supposed to work 48 hours a week. You should, originally, this is how targets should be done. You can expect that the staff could bring in about 70% of that time that they're in the location. So, and that's usually how a target should be based. We all know that they're probably not being utilized 70% of the time, so it should be adjusted accordingly.
Fab. You mentioned discounts. What examples of good discounts during this time especially? Like, I mean, not good discounts, but obviously jobs have been cut, there's been pay cuts. So instead of discounting, what examples can you give that is added value or something that's a bit more outside the box, I suppose?
Sure. Added value, I would do gift certificates. Gift certificates have always been a key hit. You're actually giving them more for their money. There's two ways to look at gift certificates. One is that, let's say that if someone purchases a gift certificate with X amount of value, you can put it in a scale, which could be 10%, 20%, 30% added value into that. And then what happens is you're not paying the commission in terms of someone selling the gift vouchers, gift certificates. Another way is, and that will help you with your cash flow, because that's cash that you're receiving right on the spot, and then the client can use it at their, at their given time. Another option is retail products. I know retail products have taken a huge, huge, huge dip. One main reason is because we've got a lot of online platforms, which is brilliant for the salon itself, which they're selling their retail. But when the clients are not able to go into the salon, they can't purchase their services, and they're not going to purchase retail. So because they're not purchasing the retail, it's taken a really huge hit, and it's affecting your inventory, and you're going to have aging stock. So it would be a great idea if you could bundle some of these products, include these products into your services. I know that a lot of salons have offered 150 dirhams for their root tint, which was okay during the lockdown, but my personal opinion, and again, this is subjective, I think that needs to stop. Clients need to come back to the salon. We need to do their hair for them. We need to get them used to having a professional focus on their hair, see their condition, and let us do our job. So when the client comes into the location, and again, this is something that could be beneficial for them, booking your appointment, and you get a free or complimentary hair care kit, to maintain your color at home, etc. So those are some of the added values with that, or complimentary hair treatment with the purchase of your hair color. So it's enticing to get the client in for that way. But do not reduce. If you reduce your pricing, again, please remember, you are spending much more money right now prior to the pandemic. Every salon is going through masks, is going through excessive amount of gloves, the sanitation. I applaud those that have the big machines as you walk into the salon and you're being sprayed down and everything. This is money that's affecting your bottom line. At the end of the day, you have to operate, and you have to operate profitably, or you have to break even. And I don't think we're breaking even right now.
Absolutely. And that kind of has led on to another question. What do you have any ideas of revenues that can be done on top of just doing these simple services, which you kind of just touched on, but is there anything that you can suggest that salons can do in order to try and make sure they break even with all the costs of PPE and everything they've got to purchase?
Yeah, I think if they just follow some of these steps, first of all, is again, the discounting, that's really, really, really important. Please remember, we're all in this together. I'm going to say it again, because if I'm not discounting and my competitor is discounting, then it just brings us down. Let's not do that. Let's stick as a whole. Remember, your costs of goods are expensive. They've increased right now. Just watch your expenses, really, really watch your expenses. Negotiate with your phone company, negotiate with anyone that you can to be afloat. You're going to have more expenses even as we go into the third quarter, because the revenue is not going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just led on to a question again from Facebook about rent percentage.
Yes.
What advice can you give to salon owners that can they negotiate on rent? Is it something that they can do?
Yep, I think everyone right now can negotiate on rent. Okay, your rent is always going to be higher in the malls, but I have noticed that a lot of the malls have reduced their rent, have really worked with our industry. I applaud MAF so much. I think they were the first ones who actually came out, and then others were following. We still got a little bit of challenges with EMER. I think we need to step up a little bit in that, because a lot of us out here are in EMER properties. You can negotiate. Everyone understands that we need a little bit of relief. So definitely have your numbers in place. It's best to write a formal letter, put your facts in, tell them what you're looking for, and let them come back. Let them come back and respond to you. Anyone with common sense, I guess you could say, will not deny this because it's happening to them. This is not affecting just our industry. It's affecting everyone. Every industry has been affected, regardless.
Absolutely.
Even your, sorry, Emma, I'm going to also touch point. Even your personal rent, you can always go to your landlord. Your landlord knows what's happening. I mean, I understand. I've heard some feedback from others saying, well, you know, my landlord says if you don't pay me, or I'm going to deposit your check and then I'll just call the police, etc. I don't think these kind of cases are going to be entertained, and I'm really happy with that because, again, it's the UAE government is encouraging individuals to work with their landlords, and I really hope that anyone who has property out there, if you're listening, please give a little bit of leeway here so people can breathe.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, another question. Should clients pay for the increase in cost due to precautions taken by salons? Should that be a cost that clients...
No.
No.
No. At the end of the day, as a client, and put yourself in their shoes as well. I mean, from my perspective, we expect that to happen. We expect our industry to protect us, okay? And as myself, I mean, I've been a cosmetologist probably before you were born, Emma, but these are measures that we take, and we need to ensure that clients are safe. It's just very unfortunate right now that we have to incorporate some extra costs. You should never impose that on your clients at this time. Now, if it's something that will have to be implemented in the future, then yes, you can take a look at your costs. But I don't think this is the time right now to raise any prices at all. Be very careful, gingerly approach everything, and just don't discount, reduce your expenses, and you'll be able to afford this.
Okay, fab. Okay, another question. What's your take on home service?
During this time or in general? During the pandemic, I'm assuming.
Yes, let's go with that. They come back.
I am against it, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why. Even my own home, I'm sorry, I clean my home day and night. I'm not even having the cleaners come in, and usually they do every week. So there's such a thing, and I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but there's ways that people can be carriers, and they could actually cause more harm than good. I don't think it's that important for us to risk ourselves and to go to anyone's home and perform. I really don't. Clients need to get used to coming back into our salons. I applaud everyone for taking these steps and cleaning these salons, and they smell like hospitals. It's brilliant because you walk in and it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so comfortable. I feel safe. And this is what we need to get out to our staff, to our clients. Owners need to reach out to the clients and telling them that they miss them. They need to let them know that we're ready for you, and come and see how well we've cleaned the place for you, and not encouraging the home service at all.
Great, no, good point. Okay, this is a long question from an anonymous attendee. Would you agree that the crisis will separate the great skills from the mediocre ones when it comes to hairdressing skills offered, and that clients' purchases will be more selective and will shop for products with a focus on quality, added benefits, and highly effective ingredients as opposed to trendy items?
Yes, in a nutshell, absolutely. Absolutely. I do see that happening right now. I have spoke to some industry experts here and then also abroad in the States, and it's really lovely to know that we've got some color only salons and their clients have returned because they trust that owner, they trust the expert that has always provided the service for them for many, many years. That is going to be the key. And I do believe that they are going to be the survivors. We can all survive together, but we just, again, we have to really look at who are our clients, what are we offering our clients, and hang in there, hang in there.
No, amazing, yeah. Okay. In general, should salons focus on their average spend per visit or work harder on retention and more frequently monthly or weekly visits?
I would work on retention right now. I think it's going to be very difficult to work on your average client spending. Again, your clients are not going to come in as often. If you worry about retention, your average client spending is going to actually go up at this point. That's what you need to focus on.
Absolutely. Okay, should one now look at adding other services to increase revenues, e.g. retail sales, aromatherapy, online coaching, anything which can be possible in present infrastructure or little increase in infrastructure?
Yep, I think online tutorials are fantastic. That would only be if someone, let's say, I know we can't do facials. If we're talking about UAE in general, we cannot do the facials. If it were my salon, I would sell the facial kit, and I would incorporate it into how to actually perform the facial at home, and that would be the cost for it. I noticed that a lot of our salons are actually showing clients how to color their hair, how to do their facials, how to wax themselves. I'm sorry, again, this is subjective, but I don't agree with that. One, it's a huge liability, especially in terms of waxing. I know that there's some companies out there that are selling waxing kits. Why? I have no idea. So I think if you do some tutorials, teach them how to do the services that are not available for them inside the salon, that would be beneficial for you. And I know some of you are probably saying, but hold on, the waxing is not available in the salon. I understand that, but waxing is something that is a little different than, doing a home facial or even coloring your hair. I don't agree with coloring your hair at home either, but now that we're back into the salons, we shouldn't offer that to our clients. When it comes down to waxing, first of all, you have third-degree burns that could occur. These can occur inside your salon. So can you imagine if someone is taking a spatula and they're waxing whatever part of their body and then they're ripping it? Well, at the end of the day, you're going to be held liable for it in one way or another. It's either this person sold me that waxing kit, or this person has called me and told me, oh, it's very easy. You just apply so-and-so and just rip your mesh off. And that's not the case. Again, we're here in this industry. We're here to provide a professional service for our clients. Otherwise, this would be open for anyone to purchase, and they would not be in our category as cosmetologists.
Absolutely agree. I think that's all the questions. So if anyone has got any questions now before we wrap up the session, please just pop them in the box. I've sent across your email address. So Nawal's email address is in the chat for those of you who want to take note before the session ends. And of course, if anyone has any extra questions, please feel free to message directly or go to LinkedIn. And is it Salon Solutions International? Is that your LinkedIn page?
Yep, that's correct.
Salon Solutions International on LinkedIn. Perfect, great. Well, thank you so much for that. It's been so informative, and I'm sure it's going to be viewed and watched hundreds of times. So yes, we will be putting this on our YouTube channel, everyone, for you to share with your colleagues. And as we said, any questions, you can contact me directly or Nawal, and we, as you said, we're all in this together. So thank you for your time this morning, and thank you all so much for joining, and hopefully see you all again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening, and good luck to everybody. I know that we can do it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nawal. Take care, and everyone, and stay safe.
Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.